Hey, everyone. Hi. Welcome to another episode of Jeff Has Cool Friends. Holy crap. I am Jeff May. You know that. And I have cool friends. And I have such a fantastic friend that I'm bringing to you. He's actually one of my best friends and one of the busiest people that I have ever met in my life. It is hard to
for the least amount of money.
Also true. No, it is funny, like, because oftentimes you'll bring somebody on that's very busy and they do one thing. My guest, of course, is the amazing Erik Barnes. Erik, hi.
Hello.
I tried to come up with a way to describe you in the way that I'm like, oh, he's a comedian, but you are a writer, an editor, a comic. You are an occasional host.
Yeah.
You are an actor. You
are
a commentator. You are a ring announcer. You do so much shit. And I find you to be a fascinating person. I find you very interesting. You are, to the uninitiated, a terrifying man. Which I totally, which is why I vibe with you.
Yeah. We have that in common.
You do. No. You're a very fascinating person. You're very cool. You do a lot of cool shit. And this is one of those times where I was like, I don't even know if you have anything really that you're promoting right now. I just wanted to talk to you.
Yeah, sure.
I was like, I just want Erik on.
Let's just be friends and
We are cool friends.
Yes, we are.
Jeff
is one of my cool friends.
That's all. Obvious.
It's true though.
Our origin story is not as wholesome as a lot of people's.
No,
is
far from it.
It was at Killer Mike or Mouthy Pants. I forget what the mic was at the time.
It was at Killer Mike's. It was at the Other Door Bar.
Yeah, it was at a mic run by Vanessa Guerrero and Kevin Anderson, and I was there, and I was ingrained in that. I was there at the genesis of the thing and everything like that. So I was very like just a cat. One of the people that when someone shows up to the mic, they're like, "Oh, this guy's here," because it's like, "Oh, he gets up early" or something like that. And I was I was in a good mood, and I saw you, and you are for the uninitiated, for the people that don't know Erik. Erik you are massive. You are 6'5".
I am 6'4".
You are 6'4",
just an inch shy.
And just like a big, strong man. You're just a big. You're an intimidatingly large man, and you have this. You have shocking red hair.
Shocking red.
Yes, it is red. It's not.
I know it's red, but it's just like it's so red that it fills me with awe.
It is, and the energy that you bring was a lot of the people that I kind of came up with when I was growing up in New England. The red hair is so heavily prevalent in New England. It's such a powerful, and I think I was having a very good. Extroverted day.
You had a great day. I had the shittiest day.
I think you were having a very bad day.
It was a very bad day.
And
it had a lot to do with my appearance at the time.
Because you had shaved your head or something? Or
no, I forget exactly the details because it was so long ago. But I do remember that I was either dealing with, because I have some body dysmorphia stuff, which is something you and I have camaraderie around.
We both deal with it.
Yeah, we both deal with it. But I'm like, I know I'm big. I know that I have red hair. It's like yes, I'm aware because I've been living it.
Yeah.
I'll let you continue.
Well, I was like ice breaking it.
You were ice,
and I was like, man, you look like. I think I said something.
You look like a Boston guy.
I was like, I was like, you look like a guy from where I'm from, man. You have good Boston energy on it, and you were like, well, I'm not, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I think I said something like, "Oh, that's cool." You had that energy. I know some people that look a lot like you, and you're like, "Well, I'm not." And I was like, "I'm gonna go f myself, f you, dude."
Yeah.
And then I left.
Yeah.
And then it was like you like apologized without apologizing. You just kind of like it was like the next week.
It was the following week.
Yeah.
I think I eventually really apologized at one point.
You did afterwards,
after the fact. But
after I was laughing about our meat cute.
Yeah, our meat hate. Because here's the thing. I was aware of who you were, but I never had a face to the name. But a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're tall, just like Jeff May. Oh, you're into this, just like Jeff May," and blah, blah, blah. So you were, and all that. And I didn't know. And then there was the connection. And it's like, oh, that was Jeff May. And I'm like, oh, and I I had a rough time. I had a bad day. No, but no excuses. I was an ass.
Yeah.
I was a big ass. And so the following week, I'm like, hey man, and you were very courteous about it because like, yeah, you f***ed up, didn't you? As soon as I'm like, hey, and I sort of hem-hawed explained myself, but you're like, yeah, you done f***ed up. And I'm like, oh, okay, he gets it.
I don't grudge out, like
there's no, when do you have the time?
Yeah, it's that whole when people say, oh, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. But with me, I'm like, sometimes first impressions aren't great. I think it's funnier that way.
It kind of is. It kind of made us better friends in the end, really.
I think I generally win people over after that first impression, but I'm also used to negative first impressions because of my appearance.
Yep.
Which I think is something you probably also carry with you.
It probably is what happened earlier that day.
Yeah, we have we have different energy. You have biker energy with your with your visualization.
I have biker Viking energy.
And I have biker cop.
Yeah,
energy. Yeah, you're like a Viker.
Yeah. I throw bottles, you throw batteries. Yeah, that's kind of the
but it was very fun. And then it started to come down that we do have like we were so much in common.
Yeah,
and we became very fast friends. And I got to see you doing a lot of the work that you do and all the stuff. And like you are just and I hate to use the phrase because I think it's like kind of not great in our world, but you grind, man. Like you work
because I have to.
I know, like you and there were times where because I did those. Remember when I was writing articles?
Yeah.
For that Vimes company, they were like this online publication, and they were like coming out strong, and they asked me to write articles for them, and I gave them a low quote just because I wanted to be published, which was stupid because that website doesn't even exist anymore.
You always ask, "What's your budget?" first.
Yeah.
Every time.
And I wrote these articles, but I was like, I need somebody to edit because I'm a perfectionist, and I needed to go to somebody before it went to a professional editor. I needed to send it to you, and you were like, absolutely. And you took like maybe 15 minutes, and you sent me back like the most beautiful amount of edits needed. And I was like, that's what I needed. Thank you. And it was just one of those things where I was just in awe of you. And how good you were.
I had no idea that you were in awe of me. That's very flattering. Thank you.
I think you are an incredibly funny writer. And I think other people notice that too. Because you've published many times on cracked.com.
Cracked. I was on Macaulay Culkin's Bunny Ears. I have a couple of scripts floating out there that have gotten, placements in various script writing contests. I'm in various forms. Writing is the thing that that pays the rent at this point.
We have
various different.
So here's something very funny, and I think about a lot. Is you and I had a very awkward conversation when we were at my gym when I was doing some training with you back in the day, and we were just talking, and you looked at me and you said, "You don't think I'm funny, do you?"
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do remember that, actually.
Do you remember what I said?
That's my insecurity. I think you said something along the lines like, I think other people think you're funny.
I said,
there's something.
I said, here are the things I said, because I said two things.
Okay.
I said,
you have better recall than I do.
I've read from in stand-up. I think a lot of people do think you're funny. I think you're not necessarily my flavor in the style that I.
That's what it was.
And it's not that I don't respect it. I book people that I personally am like, I don't get it, but people seem to really like it.
Yeah.
But do you remember the other thing I said?
No, I don't.
You're one of the funniest writers I've ever met.
I do not recall that, but that's on me.
I'm guessing
that's me. I'm with praise. I'm terrible with it.
I also
so
feel
I probably
like
didn't grasp that.
I also feel like it may have been that the honest and almost awkward response that I had to the stand-up portion of that question overshadows
it probably did
that thing because
I do take pride as a performer.
Of course.
Well. Yeah. As we all do.
Of course.
Yeah. So
it was,
I'm sorry for having an inappropriate response to something so kind.
No, it was one of those things. Cause like that happens a lot where you're around people and it's like, well, first off, comedy is subjective.
Yeah, of course it is.
And it's there. And like, there were people that I found to be even like brilliant joke writers that couldn't translate it to stand up in a different way
Yeah.
that made it seem over rehearsed or something like that, or couldn't handle a heckler or something, and it would derail them as soon as they got off of their little thing, and like not building up that skill. And so like people I've dated are like, like, am I going to do your show? I was like, well, here's the things that we need to work on. And like trying to be really positive about it, where it's like your joke writing is top of the line. The performance aspect seems very, not yours, but for someone else, the performance aspect is very rehearsed, very wooden. It looks more like a one man or a one woman show. And that won't work in the very unique situation that I had with Mint on
Your show
Card.
is a very wonderful show, but it is very specific.
It is. I've had some of the best comedians I know eat a big old bag of dicks because they were not prepared for a store that's open with the lights on everywhere.
I was about to say, if you want to play a drinking game whenever you go to Mint on Card, just wait for the first comedian to say, "Oh wow, the lights are on and I get to see all of you." And it's like it happens at least once a show.
I think that improves the show.
I have nothing against it. I love seeing the faces of people because that way, you
get instant feedback.
You get instant feedback, and you get to, if you want to, and obviously with a lighter touch because you don't want to scare them. You can around a little bit.
It's definitely a crowd work room, or it's actually more of a room work room.
It really is. Yeah,
like a lot of people are crowd working with Mint on Card. For those of you that are listening without the knowledge of that's a monthly stand up show that I run at Blast from the Past on Burbank on Magnolia. It's a great show. It's fun. We've been doing it for off and on over 6 years now,
which is a big deal in LA.
Yeah. A third of it off, by the way.
Well, a point being, shows rise and fall within less than
it's in my opinion the perfect venue for weird stand-up comedy. Yeah, because it's not a club. There's no alcohol. It really is. You have to be so good at the craft and so think of on your feet what to do. And I saw like some people who I've seen just murder, and they'll see like a 12-year-old in the crowd, and it totally throws them for a loop. They don't know what to do. And I like that.
I do too.
I like the awkwardness of stand-up.
It forces it. Here's the thing. I got nothing against, blue comedy. I mean, you heard me say like 90 times, and I know that on the free feed you're going to hear a lot of bleeps. But the thing about Mint on Card and certain shows is that it's like, well, sometimes you're not going to be able to say everything you want if you're going to be on TV, if you're going to be on whatever. I know that things are a bit more lax than they were even 5 years ago, but it helps you develop more as a comedian to be able to just I don't want to use the term censor, but redirect yourself. Yeah, or recreate your bits and see how your bits work without the cursing. Yeah, see how your bits work without the cursing. And you know what? Maybe, you don't need to talk about your dick. Maybe you have other things. There's an idea. There are, like, honestly, the people, like, seeing people have fun trying to adjust their sets. Yeah. A recent one was, do you know Bailey Norton? Yeah. She came up with the ukulele, and she's really funny. And I've seen her before, and the ukulele bit, I saw her perform, and I was like, that's so funny. I was like, I want you on the show. Like, she didn't even ask for a booking. I like hunted her down and I said, do the show. The only thing is we can't say f***, and we can't do graphic sexual material. And she was like, okay, but you did see. And I was like, I trust that you know how to do this. Yeah. And she came on, and like part of her act was addressing that she had to change the lyrics to make it appropriate for the room. That's right. And it improved the joke, where when she got off stage, she was like, I think I liked it better without using in the lyrics. I think it was even funnier to wink at the crowd whenever I say kiss. Yep. Or something like that. And it was one of those things where it's only in the moment, but that to me, like the real parts of stand-up comedy, not an album that's polished that you've already done, but that real in stand-up comedy where like there's a fire and you're the one with the extinguisher. Bombing like at I think I was talking with this Alex Hooper last time, but bombing at like fundraisers, for example, is such a nightmare and so fun. Oh yeah. Because you're like, these people, this. I was talking with Kim. Kim and I were. They already gave their money.
Kim and I were talking on an episode of Ugh Fine about like doing Christmas show, like holiday parties and stuff. And I did one over Zoom where I had to burn down the whole set because I was like, nobody's paying attention. Nobody wants this. They all just want to drink and be on Zoom and do like trivia. And I did like 4 minutes of a set and just saw like the crowd just eating shit. I was like, just not. And I was laughing. I was like, hey guys, let's talk about this for a second. You don't want stand up, and I don't want to do stand up to people that don't want to do stand up. So what do you say we just roll with some more trivia while the game, and they were like, that sounds great. And I was like, my check still clears.
Yeah.
And we had
your goal is to make sure they have a good time.
Yeah, but that was fun.
Whether it's your material or not.
Yeah. I love the thinking on your toes aspect. And I know a lot of comics.
Have you ever done a set list?
I love set list.
I love doing that.
Set list is one of my favorite things to do. It's one of the things that I consistently had been crushing.
Yeah.
Right so when I was getting traction doing set list, Paul Provenza just like moved it.
Yeah.
He like took, because it was at Nerd Melts is when it started.
It was at Nerd Melts. I've done, I think I did it at Nerd Melt. I know I did it at like
the Pack.
I did it at the Improv.
Oh, when was it at the Improv?
I think it was at the Improv. It was at the Improv. It was at an actual club at one point. No, I did it at Flappers because I opened for Pepitone. Oh, because Eddie was the real headliner for that, and he's amazing, obviously. But no, I did that with Paul and Troy Conrad, and that was super fucking fun.
I love. So for those of you that don't know, Set List is a show where
it's
you
improvised stand up.
But it's not just improvised stand up. It's improvised stand up, but you have to do material based on 3 prompts that are given to you while you're on stage.
Yeah.
Behind
and you have no idea what they're going to be.
And some of them, like I only did it once at Nerd Melt. And I got to do it and it was early in my career, and I have since not done it. I did it with Carlos Alzraki, who many of you might know as Rocco from Rocco's Modern Life. He's in Reno 911. He's the Taco Bell Chihuahua. And he did one that was called like Broken Crystal Ball or something like that. And he twisted it in a way that instead of like a fortune telling crystal ball, it was all about Billy Crystal getting hit in the nuts while doing a Billy Crystal impression.
And that's how you make it work.
And that's so funny. Or like there was one of my favorite comedians in the world is Laurie Kilmartin.
Yeah.
And one of the best pops I think I've ever had is she starts her set. The first prompt that show up is pro school shooting. And she just goes, hear me out. And it was just one of the funniest ways to ever start one of the most awkward things I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. It was so funny. Just the way she landed that line. I love doing set lists. I wish I could do it. Like that's one where I've taken people that were the more scripted comics and I was like, let's do this to work that muscle. And unfortunately, they did not react well to it.
I mean, I loved it because I'm one of the few stand-ups that go into improv, and I love improv, even though they're sworn enemies.
Improv is comedy for people that have supportive parents. That's the way I put improv.
It is in certain ways. I had halfway supportive parents.
That's why
why I'm in both. That's why I'm a hybrid. But yeah, that is the good thing about improv is like, oh, I don't have to sit and remember either. It's just be funny in the moment.
I get a lot of people that ask me about stand-up and they're like, so like about writing material. And I'm like, well, on stage, it's like 70-30 written to improv for me. And everyone's
different.
Everybody has their preferences. But the closer you get to 100% prepared, the less authentic it's going to be. I agree. It's like the uncanny valley of stand-up where it hits a certain level of polish that it becomes jarring.
Yeah.
And you see it a lot. You know, there are some people that are much higher at that level when you look at people like Seinfeld. Mm-hmm. Seinfeld is a good example of somebody who is probably 95 to 98% pre-written.
Yeah.
Whatever we want to say about Seinfeld being a weird boomer / sex predator or whatever like that, we're not going to pretend he's a bad comedian.
No.
which I also
And
is
then
like
and
one of
then
those.
on the opposite end, there's a Jimmy Pardo who does like nearly 100% crowd work.
Oh yeah.
And all that. Like he has some bits in his back pocket in case someone says something, but for the most part, he's up there like, okay, let's have fun, everybody.
Like Ian Baggs, when Ian Bagg did Last Comic Standing, and they were like, "All right, show us what you got," and he just was like, "Where you're from." But just murdering it because he's just like
Yeah.
or who was it somebody did like a whole crowd work album. It was Todd Berry.
Yeah.
And it was just so fun and so like I love doing stuff like that. And I'm always
And the balls on Todd Berry to do that type of thing because he could have had a bad night.
Yeah. I mean, but that album was recorded over the course of I think like 20 weeks, right?
This is I think you're right, but at the same time, that's 20 weeks. It's still a gamble every time.
Yeah. I think Dice did one of those albums too, like an all crowd work album called like The Day the Laughter Died or something like that. And it's like awkward.
Oh, okay, Dice.
But it's super awkward and very funny because of how awkward it is. Like that. I do enjoy. I'm not gonna lie. But it is one of those situations with stand up. And when you look at like that crowd work where like when I go home, I book flights to go home and doing stand up out here, like it's sort of taken a back seat. But when I go home, it's like the most requested thing is people are like, please do a set. Like I want to see you live. I want to see you perform.
Yeah.
So I always book an hour. I book local comics. I try to make the perfect show. I book local comics. I pay them well. I make a diverse show on top of that, which is hard in New England. And if I can do it from 3,000 miles away, the rest of you can do it elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, man, I haven't done an hour in like months. Like is this going to be hard? And then after all the like improv-y crowd work stuff that I do, I'm like, oh, I didn't even get to like 3 of my chunks.
Yeah.
Because I just was having so much fun in the moment.
Well, I think, as a compliment to you and in being genuine, you've been a host for so long that's sort of the mentality that you're bringing into your shows now and into your stand-up in the sense that you are but instead of making the person that Freddie Prinze Jr., whoever you're interviewing on a panel comfortable, you are making the audience comfortable and all that and being your charming self and all that. And that muscle has been exercised to the point that it's taken a good chunk of what is, your prepared material, which is not a bad thing.
I don't mind. I don't hate it at all.
No, you shouldn't.
That having developed that skill over years, has replaced I'm still writing jokes and I'm still trying to see what works.
Of course,
but at the same time, it has replaced some of that accidentally. One of the, it's funny because you brought up the hosting thing, and in stand-up comedy, when you go, if you guys are, for example, going to a stand-up show, say you're in Boise.
Yeah.
For example, shout out to Mike Stanton in Boise, and you're doing you go to a stand-up show. The standard vibe from a stand-up show, the standard schedule is you have your headliner. That's the guy on the marquee, or the person, on the marquee. That's the person that's getting the big paycheck. That's the person that you're paying to see. They do roughly 45 minutes to an hour. That's the person
that was a guest on Abbott Elementary.
Yeah, or something. Yeah, something like that. somebody with credits, or or in my case, a local guy. Or I have credits now, I guess. Yeah, I'll take Netflix credit. I'll take it.
I can take it.
So
Howie Mandel said that you were funny. Done.
So we have.
I worked with an Oscar winner.
It's crazy, right? Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
So you have your headliner, then you have what's called a feature. And a feature generally works anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. A feature gets paid, generally speaking, on a regular show, $100 to $250 max.
Yeah.
It is the hardest thing to do.
And the headliner buys them dinner.
Yeah. As a touring comedian, feature work is not great. Because you're not usually paid to travel the way the headliner is. It's a whole nightmare.
And stereotypically speaking, they do the heaviest of the lifting.
It's a lot. There's a lot of heavy lifting. I'd say the heaviest of the lifting is the host, but usually the host is local.
Yeah.
The host is either somebody employed by the club or somebody that is from the area near you. So this person might be living in Boise, and they might be a big fan of whoever is, doing the set. They might be a fan of Erik Barnes. They're like, oh, I love you. I'd love to host for you. Sure, go ahead. Let me see a video first. You're not going to do like the N-word or anything on stage.
Yeah.
And the host is generally like the least respected part of a stand-up show, with an irony being it is a lot of heavy lifting. It's a lot of work.
Well, especially if the comic that you're trying to introduce another comic after a previous comic may have bombed or have the crowd.
You have to save a room.
Yeah.
Which means you have to be like, you have to know when to just say, here's your next comic.
They have to
or
rise the tide.
I need to do a bit to lift this back, ease the tension, blah, blah, blah.
They have to read the room.
It's a very room reading job. And it's a skill that I think is so underappreciated. And it's also a kiss of death because it's not a well-paying gig. But when you're good at it, people don't want you to stop doing it.
Yeah.
And that's happened to me where I've done shows like higher level shows in LA, like name shows, and they needed me as a host. And they'd seen, somebody that was on the show had done Mint on Card. They're like, I got a guy who's a really great host, and they brought me on as a host, and I murdered it, and sending me emails, you were the best host we've ever had, and blah blah blah. And I was like, great, I would love to do the show as like a comedian, and then just like nothing. And I'm like, but.
That's how I've kind of just made a career mostly out of writing, is because it's like I'm a very good performer, but I'm a very specific looking like I've done some acting here and there, but I'm genuinely a character actor. And the problem is like I am not mean enough or fat enough or tall enough. I'm the smallest of the giants and all that type of thing. So, and the thing of it is that I turn into kind of like and I've done that with the article that I helped edit for you. I've done that for so many other people, so many other times. And I've turned into kind of like a doctor, so to speak. And here and there, like due to legal reasons, I can't talk about certain folks that I've.
Oh no, yeah, you can't go like ghost writing and ghost editing and stuff.
I have helped edited a script for a Jonas Brother, but I will not tell you which Jonas Brother, and you have not seen that script for a reason. Yeah, and I'll just leave it at that. But to your point, you get to be good at one particular thing, and someone sells you as that particular thing, and now all of a sudden, oh, that's your thing now.
Yeah.
When you're able to do so much more.
And we're in a situation where it's not financially rewarding to do that. No. Whereas if this were, say, the 80s, and you were ghostwriting scripts, you'd be making a fortune.
Right.
And now it's just not the case. That we have a glut in this industry where they'll take free medium talent as opposed to paying for like real.
It all
actual talent.
It all depends on the budget. It all depends on how authentic the people up top you're working with. There's so many different factors.
Now, because you are an actor,
yes,
and you've primarily, from what I understand, you've done a lot of commercials.
I have. Not for lack of trying to break out of
that's what it is. So tell me about that process. Like, how did you get into doing commercial acting? Like, how does that show up? And the roles tend to be more like brutes, right? Like
they tend to be more well, here's the weird thing is that I keep getting put out for brutes, and then eventually they're like, oh, this is a comedic brute, and that's when I tend to get more eyes on me. But what's weird is I got into commercial when I moved out here to be a comedian and all that type of stuff. I took improv classes, and through improv classes, I got. You
came from Ohio, right?
I grew up in Ohio, moved to Florida. That's where I started stand up. That's where we met that's where I met our mutual friend Nat Bamel.
Oh yeah,
he and I both got started in the Orlando comedy scene, and then it's
gonna be tough competition, huh? Being in the Orlando comedy scene.
It kind of is.
It's like a lot to do in Orlando, so like doing stand up there too. It's like that's gonna be tough. That's like doing stand up in LA,
yeah,
but without showbiz being
Well, that
not
show
a
is
theme park.
oddly enough more money. Not a
Dude,
lot.
no,
but
of
by
course it's
default.
more money.
Yeah.
LA stand-up comedy in LA, like that's why when people ask what I do, stand-up is no longer the first thing I say.
Yeah.
Because I make money podcasting. I do not really make money doing stand-up.
I just use comedian because it's a catch-all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I lived in Florida for about 2 years, and then I was like, okay, time to get off the pot. So I sold or gave away 2/3 of everything I owned, packed the rest in the car. That car broke down, got a lease on a different car, and then drove from Orlando to here.
Yeah.
And that was 2009. I'm showing my age a little. But I studied improv for a little bit, and I did something which I don't even know if that's the thing, is like everyone's asked, well, how do you get an agent? There are people with agents that still ask that question.
I love that we're fighting with my weed whacking gardener right now, that he showed up literally at the worst time possible.
Of course it is. That's my mutant ability.
Hopefully the mics aren't picking it up. And if they are, yeah, you guys can
if
deal
they
with
are,
it,
you know, just imagine two dudes in a room just chilling and bullshit.
in a bare living room, just chilling.
Just
Two giants sitting on roofy fancy.
Yeah. You and I had breakfast the other day, and one very well-meaning gentleman would try to seat us at a regular small table at a diner, and as soon as you and I both stood up, the person that was seating us went, never mind, and went and immediately got us like a bigger booth.
It was like half a card table that they were trying to put us on, and I looked at him and I was like, I don't think one of us is going to fit at this table. Yeah.
We would make our knees kiss, but yeah, what I did was, I had a very specific look. I had a shaved head at the time. My beard was a little bit longer, and I was 350 pounds at the time. I was big. I was even bigger than what I am now. I'm now walking around at around 260. And all I did was just mail my headshot, had an interview with a couple agencies, picked one, and then in my first audition, my first professional audition, I should say, it was for a a Super Bowl commercial.
Mm-hmm.
And the very first day I sat down, and it was for a security guard. And I'm like, of course. No dialogue. And I sat down, and right next to me was this other big dude, long blonde hair, had fangs. And it took me a second. I'm like, and I'm a big pro wrestling fan.
Yeah. I'm realizing I know who this is before you even say who
I know.
it is.
And I said, I'm sorry, sir. Are you Gangrel? To which was like, yeah, hey man, I'm David. And we shook hands and we did the audition. And then I get a call back. But oddly enough, the callback is like, okay, you're not a security guard anymore. You are just a big San Francisco. The Black Eagle team. Help me. The Falcons.
I'm like, the Black Eagle team, and it's the Falcons?
Yes, the Falcons.
It's a weird way to describe Atlanta.
I mean, no. Their colors are red and black. Damn it. Anyway, it was like, no, you're a huge, I almost said Blackhawks, and that's
Chicago hockey.
Yeah. It's like, you're
Falcons
a huge
fan.
Falcons fan, which, so it was like me. I lied. I had to be a Chicago Bears fan. So, of course, I ripped off the SNL type thing.
Yeah, the Bears.
I was like, oh, man, God, country, Ditka. That's the best thing, and I was just riffing with another dude. And then I get booked, and it had nothing to do with the Bears. I had to be a San Francisco 49ers fan for the Super Bowl commercial, which they totally rewrote. So it could be Joe Montana's stain. A stain of Joe Montana was on a jersey made of salsa. And so people came as a pilgrimage to see the image of Joe Montana, and I was one of the people on the pilgrimage. And they put a fake beard over my real beard and a giant 49ers hat. And I'm like, that's my very first. And that was my very first professional gig.
Fake beard over your beard.
I asked the director for a bit. It's like, hey, would it be funny if because I was given a line. I was like, hey, would it be funny if I, pulled my fake beard to reveal my real beard to say my line? Be like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen, and pull it back up. And he declined. But that's okay. I was like, yes, sir. It's my first day on set. Yeah. And I'm sitting there at catering with a bunch of these veteran actors. Like, this is their it's like, they're 9 years in. They're smoking cigarettes.
Hey, commercial work pays the bills, man.
Sometimes.
Well, yeah, especially if you get lines in it.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors because that commercial only aired once. So
Ooh.
So yeah, residuals is where money gets in. But what's weird is that I'm sitting there and they're all talking about old jobs, and then they get to me and like, oh, what's your first gig? And I went, this is, and one guy just looks at me dead in the face and just says, it all goes downhill from here, man. I'm like, oh, and he was right.
He was right. Yeah, that's, man, commercial work. It's one of those things where, like, if you get good, consistent commercial work,
Yeah,
you can eat off of it for the rest of your
you
life.
can. It's just it's
hard.
Yeah. There's a reason I have like 9 different jobs on top of
Yeah.
that.
The golden sort of ring to get in commercials is to get a Super Bowl ad that recurs.
Yeah.
Because then that's obviously where the most commercials are seen, and then people then seek it out, and the residuals are.
And things are things are different now because when I first started, and a lot of actors that are listening to this are just going to be like, yes, because originally, when you get started, you're going into a room, you're meeting a casting director who knows your face, who you can talk to, who you can interact with and network and all that. But now, because of the rise because of COVID, and a lot of the higher ups are like, we could just ask for self-tapes and on all that type of stuff. I'm not saying self-tapes are inherently bad, but they prevent you from having that face-to-face interaction. It removes the personality. It removes the personality. The good thing about a casting director is that they can sit there and watch you perform, and if they like what you're doing, but
want it a different way, or try a different
way, or try different stuff, could tweak you and coach you a little bit, because they're in the room to make sure you succeed. Mm-hmm. And without that, in terms of self-tapes, you are your own casting director. You're your own everything. Yeah. So and you have no external input in order for you to redirect your performance. But yeah, that has pretty much died, and I know a lot of actors that have suffered from it. But yeah, it's and you just that's the thing is, in order to get. I was very fortunate that I had one like very big, super lucrative commercial.
Oh, what was it?
It was for Geico, and I had a line. I had to go in and do ADR. Like, I pretty much had the full actor experience through that.
For Geico, huh?
Yeah, and it was super.
What was the ad? What was it about?
I was a football player. I was a center. It was one of the most best and worst experiences of my life, because I played football in high school for 2 years. Oh boy, didn't we all. I hated it. I hated every second of it. Hated every second of it. I hated two-a-days. For those of you that don't know, two-a-days, you have 2 practices a day, and you have a lunch break in the middle, and it's hot as and you're wearing the heavy gear. You're running the same play over and over again, and you're running against a guy, and you're getting yelled at by a walrus man called the coach. And I didn't care for the locker room atmosphere, because that it just didn't really fit me. There was a reason I quit and went to theater in high school. Were you number 68? Was that your jersey number in the commercial? Maybe, possibly. I think I'm looking at it. It was 3 years ago was when it was posted, or at least it was posted by this guy 3 years ago. I found it on YouTube, I think. You could probably find it on YouTube. Geico, like All Snap, I believe is the title of it. Yep. Hold on. Yep, that's it. Set, red, 97. Did you say 97? That's me. Yes. That reminds me of Geico's 97% customer satisfaction rating. 97%? Helped by Geico's fast and friendly claim service. Oh yeah, baby. Geico's as fast and friendly as it gets. Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more. Yep. Wow, look at that. Yeah, that was me. Ladies and gentlemen, Erik Barnes. But here's the thing. In order to that particular day was just reliving that entire high school experience, because I was running the same play over and over again. The director was way out in the stands, so I was getting my notes from an actual damn football coach. And I was the center, right? And all over the place. Like there was no time for me to break. Like I was on camera all the time. So, and I'm in my 30s when this is going on after 2 knee surgeries.
Yeah.
So 4 hours of me saying that line as calmly as possible and all that while sweating underneath the heavy things and
of the pads and
all of these, college football players, are fucking around, messing my takes as I go up and, just hit the guy over and over again. Then we break for lunch and then we're doing close-ups on me. And I didn't want to throw up on camera. So while everyone else enjoyed the wonderful catering food, I had like half of a tilapia and some spinach and the same thing. I couldn't, and we finally got everything. The very next day, I could not walk for 2 days because I was just in squatting, the entire time. Because I'm trying to explain to these people, I'm an actor, not an athlete. You are wearing a uniform. I'm wearing a costume right now.
It's such a theater kid thing to say too.
Yeah.
That's your uniform. This is my costume.
Well, that's the thing is like, it was just so surreal because we recorded it at USC and there were no trailers. So I was changing in the locker room. It just felt like I was reliving the entire
It's like a nightmare. Yeah.
It
17
was.
again.
It really was. Right down to the fact that there's a honest to God walrus looking football coach yelling at me.
I love that. I love that. So you said, just an honest question. I don't know about it. And I know we all try to be very honest about like the things. Like residuals, like, cause you get paid a base, right?
You get paid for the day.
And that's for a speaking role. It's probably pretty high, right? Couple grand.
Yeah. For that, I'm trying to remember. I will tell you this: for the entire run of the commercial, I probably made a little over 40 grand.
So that's awesome,
which is amazing. But the thing of it is, the reason that the money is so high is that it is gambling. It is a lottery.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah, because the first thing is like, well, they have to like your picture, they have to like your headshot to bring you in. Then you do the audition, and you have to impress them enough, and hopefully the people that are in the room, you don't remind them of their ex. They aren't waiting for lunch, that they're in the mood to see you and they see what you can deliver.
All the tumblers have to click.
Yes. And then you get the callback. And if you're an actor, you know that if you get the callback, you've already done your job and everything is up to chance.
Yeah, it's up to God now.
It is up to everything else. And then when you get the callback, it's like, well, you're put on, you're kind of put on hold, like on a veil. And it's like, we're thinking about using you, just don't make plans. But who's to say? Then you are pinned. And by pinned, that means you're getting the job, but we can't say the word hired yet. Then there's the day of the shoot, and then you're shooting, and hopefully you're not fired there. Then then you do the shoot, and it's like, well, am I cut from the edit?
Yeah.
And there have been times in which I've been cut from the edit. I'll tell that J.K. Simmons story.
Tell me about getting cut.
Oh, I know that you know. But here's the deal. I didn't, fortunately for you, that even though you were cut, you
still got paid.
You still got paid. There are a lot of folks that I'm like, oh man, he had so many speaking lines and all that, and they're just gone, and it's like you get nothing.
Oh yeah, that happens a lot in movies where people's whole characters get cut out of a movie.
Yep. Same with commercials. And the thing of it is like if you show your face, you're not considered an extra. You're considered a principal, and they have to pay you more. But if in the final edit they cut your face out, they may pay you less, or they pay you nothing in terms of residuals.
Oh yeah.
So there's that aspect. Then we get to how many times it airs.
Yeah.
And then
if it airs.
Exactly. So there are so many things that have to go right in order for you to be like, oh man, I get to pay rent this year. And the thing is, with that particular ad, because it's a football commercial, it only airs during football season. Mm-hmm. So I was fortunate in that it aired just before the Super Bowl, and after the end, and a couple weeks after the Super Bowl.
So a lot of play,
and then nothing until fall.
And then it hit back.
And then it hit back.
Nice.
And but I'm very fortunate that they decided, we spent so much money on this commercial, let's re-air it. And they could have easily been like, f this, we're done. And they could have moved on to something else. So that's why you see so many actors with so many different other jobs, because it's only the top of the top of the top. And even they themselves know that, oh, I'm lucky that I can do this full time.
People ask, because it's like, oh, how do we get into commercials? And you explain like the filter that you have to go through. And that was a lot of when people saw what I did and they were like, how do I get on that? And I was like, buckle in. Yeah. Because there's a lot of, and you fail more than you succeed.
And sometimes you have no answer for them.
No. Because it's just like, I don't know, man, you got to find the right people to want to get you in. And then you have to learn for 40 years. Yeah. That you got to
do a lot of bullshit for free. And there's a lot of chance involved. There's a lot of the people you know. There's a lot of the people you know. There's a lot of the people you know remembering it. Right. I mean, hell, all of like.
Jesus Christ, man. Yeah. I don't know. What is he flying a plane over here?
I don't know. Do you want to hold for a sec? Probably should. It's got a jet engine mower. Good on it.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, right. I'm sure that's going to be it. No, let's go with it. Who cares?
Yeah, okay.
People are going to hear the reality of podcasting.
This is just going to be real, uncut, unfiltered.
It would not matter how much soundproofing I have in my apartment whatsoever. That motherfucker.
It is what it is. Yeah.
It's so fun. Dude, this guy, my roommate loves this guy. Mm-hmm. He shows up like drunk a lot.
Okay.
And like sometimes he just doesn't show up because he was drunk. And I'm just like, why do you keep using this guy? And she's just like, well, he's affordable. And he does a good job when he does it. And I'm like, that's a real big concession.
When he does it.
I was like, that is a concession.
That is huge.
I was like, all right, that's fine.
Sure.
Yeah.
So essentially, she's paying for the gamble of whether he does the job.
It's fascinating energy that we keep here. It's really.
It sounds like
I love my roommate because she is
such a sweetheart.
She is, but she's like the shadiest people come. Like she's like, I got a plumber that'll come and fix this, and I'm like, what's his number? It's like, oh, he doesn't have a phone. You have to,
of course,
or like that, where it's just like, and it's as weird. It's like he'll fix the drain for $75 and a 6-pack of Modelo or something like that. And I'm like, that's not like a business practice, is it?
Oh,
and it's very like sort of like semi-barter energy that we have going on. And I kind of love it.
I mean, I love it on one hand. On the other, it's just like, can I just give him, $85 for him to get his own Modelo?
Yeah. Can he if he has his own tools? Is that more, or does he just use the tools we have?
Yeah.
Anyway, you're saying.
I'm trying to recall where we were. It doesn't matter. It's Hollywood bullshit.
It is. Speaking of Hollywood bullshit, by the way, I don't know if you know this. I know you know this.
Yes, it is.
But if people are listening on the Patreon, hi, I love you. Thank you so much. If they sign up for the producer credit, they pay a little bit extra and I say their names.
Hell yeah.
It's very exciting for everybody involved. And if you are listening to this for free, thanks. Go to the patreon.com/Jeff May. You can get early access to uncensored episodes. Plus, I can maybe read your name out loud, which is exciting, right? So I would like to shout out the following people. And Erik, you know the drill. We can interact and talk about these names all that we want. And I'm going to start out with the Target Loss Prevention Officer currently hunting Jeff. And that's because I shoplift M&Ms whenever I go to Target. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
You know that. You shoplift?
I do not, and that's just because of a super Christian upbringing, and I keep forgetting.
Yeah, you are. But that being said, I mean, you are.
We can talk. We can talk about that.
You are Christian, right? Yeah.
I am a follower of Jesus Christ. I am not a follower of the American church.
Fair enough. Well, would you explain why you don't shoplift then?
Well, I mean, I don't shoplift just because I don't care for stealing personally.
It's in the commandments, bro.
It is part of the commandments, but it has evolved to a point in which I just personally don't. That said, please steal from big box stores because it doesn't hurt anybody.
Yeah, that's correct. Shout out to Steven. Shout out to I'm having trouble reading this name because I am illiterate.
That's a bad burn.
That's a really good use of that.
Yeah.
Of that money. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Shout out to Cody Beck, Mike Gouts. Shout out to Lisa McCarty at Comics Book Girl, comics with an X and girl with a U.
Hell yeah.
Shout out to Ashkless and his tortoise. Shout out to Dr. DNA.
Oh.
That wouldn't that be funny if that was just a real creepy nickname for someone that's like jerking off on a bunch of stuff?
I just think that there's going to be a supervillain called Dr. RNA that fights Dr. DNA.
There it is. Or Mr. RNA.
Mr. RNA, yeah.
I need that double helix. Hooray for Pontius Pilate. There it is.
Hooray!
Brought to you by the scene in Meet Joe Black where Brad Pitt dies.
That's better.
So good. I'm never going to have a history podcast, you little shits, so stop asking.
Yeah. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you want to do it.
Yeah, no, it's work, man. It is work.
I am good at laundry. I hate laundry.
I used to get history books as gifts for Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
The worst thing. I was like, I don't want this. I get a discount at Barnes & Noble if I wanted a history book. Now I have to read about the Civil War, which I don't even teach about.
Everyone keeps wondering, well, why aren't you reading these books and all that? It's because I'm around words. I read every day. Yeah, I need to not read for a minute.
Whenever people want me to read nonfiction, I'm like, that's not fun.
No,
I already read enough nonfiction in the world.
Yeah,
which is also the news is such a stupid thing for me to say, but whatever. Shout out to Mackenzie. Sisyphus may be happy, but he's into CrossFit, so chill.
Yeah, you show him, Sisyphus.
Shout out to Mackenzie for that. Instagram and Twitter's at Bob_of_skull. You'd like Bob.
Yeah,
he's a good guy.
Sounds up my alley.
I know you would. You guys collect the same shit.
Oh,
I think he has a sketchbook.
I collect everything.
I think he has a sketchbook that recreates the X-Men Series 1 trading card set, but from other people's art style.
All right. I like Bob.
Yeah. I knew you would. Shout out to Sergeant Pepper's hot dog flavored water.
Gross.
Dr. Pepper's hot dog flavored water. Shout out to Lemming Malloy. Norm from Cheers.
Norm.
Yeah, Norm sends me all the cursing. He finds them.
I love Norm.
Norm puts in the work.
He does put in the work.
Shout out to Burrito Mouth. Dan Hackroyd. Hey, as long as we're bringing back Pepsi Blue, let's bring back the Bigfoot from Pizza Hut.
Why the hell not?
Do you have a favorite dirtbag pizza joint?
God.
Like a fast food, like one of the big ones?
Here's the thing is that there are days in which I hate Papa John's pizza. I love their cheesy bread. I just love it.
Yeah.
I just have that and then order like a Pizza Hut deep dish. I'm so happy they brought back the Detroit style pizza.
At Pizza Hut?
At Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
And the Detroit style, in quotes, Detroit style Little Caesars.
Yeah, Detroit style Pizza Hut, that's close to what the Bigfoot was.
Yeah.
Because that was a big ass pan pizza, right?
It was a big square.
Yeah, it was a big pan. That's Detroit style.
It was a big pan, but but the Detroit style from Pizza Hut currently is like small.
Is it circular?
It's smaller. They focus more on volume rather than expansion.
So it's a smaller version of the Bigfoot pizza then, because that was a very similar. Oh yeah, shout out. Maybe they are bringing back the Bigfoot pizza from Pizza Hut.
It's more of the Bigfoot Junior, like a baby Bigfoot.
I guess we could easily just say Littlefoot.
A Littlefoot,
then we get
into the Land Before Time type things,
The Land Before Pizza. Although that being said, I'm not going to step foot in a Pizza Hut. It's my least favorite.
What is your favorite?
I love the post 2009 Domino's. I think they did a really good job.
They did a good job with their "We're sorry we f***ed up" campaign.
Their advertising campaign might be the best advertising campaign I ever saw.
I don't hate it.
Where it was like the CEO is like, "Man, y'all hated us. Why don't you give us a try now? We fixed it.
Yeah.
We fixed the problem."
I am all about companies apologizing.
owning up to their.
Yeah.
I, Jeff May, believe there is no better streaming service than Tubi to watch Armand Asante movies. The things people will pay to get me to say. Because does Tubi need the attention?
I honestly, based on the fact that I never see advertising for it, I'm going to say yes.
It's like Pluto.
Yeah.
Pluto's got a Jeopardy channel now.
Pluto's been killing it regarding its channels for one specific niche show.
Well, it's also like their comedy section is great.
Yeah,
the channels that they use, they have like that IFC channel, and that's got a lot of good stuff. If you ever want to watch like Baroness von Sketch shows up, or like how many times I've stumbled across like a Stan Against Evil, or Documentary Now, and I'm just like, I guess I'm watching Documentary Now.
Yeah, I love watching Detroiters all day.
Right.
I'm perfectly fine with that.
Shout out to Itty Bitty Millie Committee. Shout out to Kelly says, get your booster, you gaslighting dip turds. I did, Kelly. I just got mine. I got mine last week. So
got my COVID variant booster and my flu shot last week.
I got my flu last night. I got COVID last week. I didn't feel like doubling up. I was too busy to be taken out by both.
No, I totally understand that.
I heard it a lot of people when they doubled up. Yeah,
it did.
The guy who played JJ in Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon.
Okay.
Shout out to Lisa Harden. We love Lisa.
We love Lisa here.
We love everybody here.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to Jessica Robertson, Silius Ruby, The Digital Phil, The Ghost of Dave Thomas. Shout out to Zex Merquise, Jocular, Haggard, Cantankerous Fool.
Oh, wow.
JHCF, baby. Shout out to Vortispin. I don't care for pie. Oh,
no?
God, it feels so good to finally get that off my chest.
I'm not a pie person either.
No, I actually am a pie person. But
I know
person
you are.
Made me say this.
I know. Yeah.
Blueberry pie with a hot slice of blueberry pie with a scoop of vanilla pudding kind of melting over it. Me up, Eric.
Glad you love it, friend.
Not a pie guy, huh?
Not a pie guy.
Cake. You're a cake guy?
I'm a cake dude.
Yeah.
I'm more of a cookie person. If we're going all desserts.
You know what the French word for cookie is?
No.
Des petits gâteaux secs.
The tiny cake?
The small, dry cake.
It's not that dry.
That should make you hate the French, right?
I have other reasons.
Yeah. I mean, comparing a cookie to a cake, it's dry.
Yeah. This is most certainly true.
Shout out to Jeff May convinced me to quit Twitter, and you should quit too because it's awful. God, I almost every time I'm like, can I just get the out of here? You're not on Instagram, right?
I am not on Insta.
Yeah,
Twitter's
that
the
must be
only
nice.
thing that I play with. Well, I should be on Instagram, which is unfortunate that I have to say that, but that's sort of
hate it.
the realization.
Shout out to Gotham City OSHA. Shout out to Nicholas. Simply having a wonderful man bun time. Fabian.
Mhm.
Shout out to Jen. Be earnest and enjoy what you love. I f***ing love that. That's so sweet. And all these f***ing dirtbag Bigfoot pizza, smell my ass like ones. And that is just one's like, everybody should just love what they do and do what you love.
Yeah. Follow your dreams.
It's real live, laugh, love energy, but not ironically, which I like that. The local man at Gavin _ not with 2 T's. You'd love Gavin. He is an independent wrestler.
Oh, right on.
Shout out to Ass of Bass. Adam Warlock. He wants your soul. Verbose minimalist. World's humblest man. At the Pajamarai on Instagram for pictures of my feet.
Pajamarai.
Strength. That's a great one. Right? Pajamarai.
Very good. That's very good.
Spelled like pajama with the RAI.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Shout out to Kale's only true purpose is as the garnish at a 1996 a Pizza Hut buffet. I do like a pizza buffet.
There we go.
I do like a pizza buffet.
The Pizza Hut lunch buffet. I know that it's turned into a hack thing to say, oh, I miss it, but I do.
We used to do Tuesday nights where all you can eat pizza at Papa Gino's for $4.99, and we used to that up. We had one kid in our group eat 23 slices in one day.
Hero.
He like stopped halfway through to take a mega too.
Well, yeah.
So
gotta
impressive.
make room.
Shout out to Christy Salinas.
Oh yeah.
We know Christy.
Yeah.
I think I met Christy through you.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Shout out to Parker Aylesworth is not that tall. He has fake legs. Parker's taller than us.
Yeah? How tall is Parker?
He's like 6'6" or 6'7".
Yeah, that's pretty tall.
Shout out to 3 Jacob Tremblays in a trench coat sneaking into an R-rated movie. Cronenberger Meisterburger. Shout out to you. It was me, Jeff. I've been giving you $10 a month since the beginning so you could afford more gas station Pop-Tarts, keeping you sluggish. Just slow enough for me to steal Christmas. That's the insidest of inside jokes to get to.
Yeah. Ilbarthon. Oh, God.
El Celdo would like to thank you, Jeff, for introducing us to your cool friends. You're welcome, El Celdo.
Nice.
Shout out to Aaron Meyer, The Great Radvertising Scam, a Jeff May joint.
Good podcasts take time, folks.
Oh, man. It is real fun. Shout out to you get the Aldo Vargas rookie card, everybody.
Oh.
Jimmy and 10.
Oh, boy.
Shout out to Bauhaus.
Bauhaus?
Bauhaus.
Bauhaus?
Bauhaus.
Bauhaus.
Shout out to Boyd, PFPDJF.
Okay.
Hell yeah, man. Way
Too
to
many
try-
initials.
My tongue up, Boyd. Shout out to Koi Pham, Art and Mentoring. Love Koi, former guest of the show.
Hey.
Shout out to Nolan Void, Ricky Cilantro, Big Booty Boy, 42069.
Nice.
Maine, more than Stephen King.
Mm.
You ever been?
Never been to Maine. Haven't had the pleasure.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's vacation land, parentheses, for white people.
Yeah, it's the United States a wreck dick.
Yep, it's our good part. Also, though, as troublesome as Florida without the disability. Yeah.
Which is America's limp dick.
Maine is the south of the north, man. It is.
Yeah.
Oof, oh, buddy.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. We have jumping rope, still a sport. Jeff not liking it, still a fact.
I hate it too.
I always fight this because I actually really like jumping rope, but now the way my knees are, I don't know if
Always
I like it that
hated
much.
it.
Bodacious Big Bad Bouncing Bollock Bonanza. Jennifer Fendelander at AV Foundry. Shout out to Boise, Idaho.
Hey.
Shout out to Patrick Dore. Bart Fardigan. Oh, Roan's the best cat.
Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate that.
I'm sorry, bud.
Oh, it's okay. He was a good cat. Huey, Nerd Numbers. The Return of Magnolia Thunder.
Oh, I can't wait.
Rudy, Daft Punk has an anime Rueda. I think he's talking about the One More Time video or an actual
I'm
anime.
guessing. Yeah.
Jeff hates competitive fun.
Mm.
Shout out to Goji, Gregorio. Odessin Molotov says, topple the patriarchy. Get pegged today.
This is most certainly true.
Gerard Ruane. Shout out to Farty Marty's Nerd Party.
It's Friday Marty's Nerd Party.
Eat shit and die, Grand Canyon. You ever been?
Oddly enough, when I drove from Orlando to here, that was the furthest west I've ever driven prior. And I made a stop at the Grand Canyon. I'm very happy that I went. I'm glad I looked at it. I'm glad I looked over the edge. I don't need to go back.
Check.
Yeah.
Just checking off the box there.
Yeah.
I'd rather see the world's biggest ball of twine. Like if I was going to stop at places, I would like to see more roadside attractions in the Grand Canyon. I'm just not that invested
Oh,
in it.
hey, no, I want to see the world's biggest ball of twine. I'm all for that.
It's fascinating.
Yeah,
right?
because someone did that.
Show me in the rules where it says a dog can't play basketball.
I refuse.
You can't. That's why. You fucking can't, Eric.
I know I can't, but even if I could, I wouldn't.
Yeah. Shout out to Grey Man of the Nightmare Potluck. Everyone is welcome at the table.
Oh.
Shout out to Jeff May using Deep Blue Sea memes to break bad news.
Yes. That's
We've all been there.
We've all been.
We've all broken bad news.
Mm-hmm.
Look at us. We're doing great. As well as Tyler Wilgus. Hey, Tyler, thank you so much. Thanks.
Yes. Just thank you.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks, Tyler.
you. For those of you that enjoyed that, and if you want to be a part of that, head on over to jeffmay.com, patreon.com/jeffmay, excuse me, for access to that as well. We have a lot of stuff going on, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of new stuff coming. So that's fun.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting. I also have other tiers that are in there, and we have more tiers coming that I'm going to start sneaking in there. So we're having a good time.
Yeah.
I think I might switch it up for my birthday. I keep saying I'm going to bump up the producer tier. And I don't because I feel guilty about it. And everybody tells me I'm an idiot for doing that. But I don't know. It's hard. I fear change.
Yeah.
But I want to bring some new stuff
hard,
in.
I want
to bring some new things in.
You're producing some quality stuff. I know what you're doing behind the scenes and all that, and it's definitely worth the bump, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, but I just want to be.
I know. You still want to be. You still want to give people some good stuff.
Yeah.
It's
one of those things where you just want. I want to keep being able to work, but man, I was having this conversation with Mike Choi, a friend of mine, Mike Choi, like earlier today, because I ran into him this morning because he's in town, and I was like, he's like, oh, so, and I was like, yeah, I got a recording, and he's like, oh yeah, he's like, those are fun, right? I'm like, they are. You know what's not fun? All of the parts before and all of the parts after, because nobody tells you when you are your own boss that you no longer have a schedule.
Yeah.
Unless you yourself, the boss, are making the schedule. And if it's not part of your job description, naturally, like even if you're a manager at like a Foot Locker that has to make the schedule, that's part of your job description. But here, like you don't have a governing body to
Right.
make you do it.
Yeah.
So you get that freedom of doing something
And on
like
top
this.
of that, you know, the manager doesn't have to sell shoes on the floor.
No, I'm selling a conversation to people.
Exactly.
That is
You know.
harder. So hard.
Yeah.
I love it though. I'm so happy that I get to do this.
Work is still work though.
It sure is.
Yeah,
It sure is a lot of work. Speaking of work,
Yes.
you got to work with J.K. Simmons.
I did.
Was that on Farmers?
Yes, I was.
You're just an commercial guy.
Commercial. Well, it's funny because I was also a marketing copywriter for an insurance company too.
Yeah, because
I'm doing similar work now as a copy editor. But yeah, I hate insurance. I hate the concept, but you know, pays the money. But yeah, you won't be able to actually see my face, which is why I brought it up earlier.
Yeah.
But I was one of 3 criminals dressed up like shrubs attempting to steal a car as J.K. Simmons tells a person to park near street lamps to deter thieves, and he kicks a lamp, and the lamp brights up, and we all kind of like, yeah, we've been discovered, and we run away.
Really?
Yeah, I got to work with J.K. Simmons. He is as awesome as everyone says he is.
Yeah.
He jokingly just looked at all. This was shot on a very hot day in Burbank.
So any day in Burbank.
And between takes, there would be a massive giant fan in which we'd have to lift up our very pokey shrub outfits in order to cool ourselves off.
Oh, so you look like Corey Feldman in the beginning of Gremlins when
yes.
when he's walking around with the Christmas tree.
Yep. And it's hilarious because you know, J.K. Simmons just walks up to us. He's like, "Yeah, I do all the setup, and these guys get the laugh." And I'm like, and later in the year, he won the Oscar for Whiplash, and it was just like, oh, I work with an Oscar winner now.
I'd be like, switch paychecks.
Yeah.
You can have.
You want to go swappies?
Yeah.
You know, no, but that was a fun day. That was, you know. It seems like no matter what I do, I end up sweaty and uncomfortable in the most high-paid gigs. It's always me in some form of. I'm never just sitting. Well, actually, there was one gig in which I just sat down and it was nice and fun, and that was a different commercial.
What was that?
I'm trying to remember what the product was. All I know is that J.J. Watt was in it, and it was for fantasy football because I was apparently one of his fantasy football buds in it. And all I did was sit on a couch, and I was like, yeah. Ooh.
I heard he's like the nicest guy on the planet.
He's a sweet man.
J.J. Watt.
Yeah.
Like J.J. Watt's one of those guys that's just funneling money into his community.
Yeah.
Which that's nice.
Yeah.
I love when you see athletes and what they do is really, I mean, athletes, but in general, just people that do really well for themselves.
I am very fortunate that I have yet to experience any divas on a set.
I have.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When I worked on the cooking show, there were 1 or 2 of the celebrity guest chef judges that were just ass. In my Midwestern way, I think I was sort of being a little bit of a diva when I was on a daytime TV show called The Real, and I was dressed in drag by RuPaul, and that was different. And I was only a diva because that's what that's called when you dress like that.
Well, no. What happened was you know, we were in a state of undress, and they wanted me to wear gym shorts, and they wanted their own version of, you know, because of logos and all that type of thing. They're like, okay, we're going to get you some gym shorts. And I'm like, okay, here's my size. And they got me a size smaller. And I'm like, I can't fit in these. And the guy's like, no, dude, it's not a problem. I'm like, yes, it is. These are my genitals that are being crushed. We need to fix this. And fortunately they did, but I had to I gave them my, hey, this is a problem voice. Then I gave them my, hey, this is a problem voice.
Yeah.
And the problem is, as you are aware, being a fellow Largeman, we're not allowed to get mad because the presumption is if we are upset with something, we will respond with violence.
Yeah.
which we don't
It's
because
most
we
likely-
live in a fucking society.
By the way, giant men are the least likely to get violent with you
Right.
because we never have to be.
We never have to be. Like, it's a double-edged sword. But the other thing is like, if you're in a professional setting, like there have been times in which I am the largest person in the office and all that type of thing, and I disagree with a colleague, and I talk in the same tone that I'm talking right now. And then you're called in by the manager being like, hey, man, you appeared intimidating. I'm like, okay, did I raise my voice? Well, no. Well, did I?
It was my body language.
Was it my body language? Well, no, it's just that you're 6'4". I'm like, okay, can I shrink? And then I'm literally telling you, this isn't a for instance. This has happened. I literally went through all that. And then my boss just looked at me and went, you know what? You're fine. No, just get out of here. But that happens all the time.
It's a weird form of discrimination that big men get, where like we're treated, and also because of the stereotype of like, well, you know, taller men make more money on average. I'm like, I haven't seen that paycheck yet.
I haven't either. Why are you putting the larger sizes on the lowest rung? Why are you? There's the presumption, the presumption of violence, the presumption of being paid more. I'm not saying that we don't have a privilege. We really do.
Yeah.
But in certain spaces, you know, I've become a lot empathetic for certain folk, just because, well, I was the guy that the security guards just look at while I am browsing, or, you know, this, that, and the other. So many different.
Yeah. I think he's mowing
factors.
6 lawns outside.
Something tells me that, because it's like, oh my God.
I think he's drunk.
He has to be, right?
He sure does. I mean, I don't know what their deal is. They're nice guys, by the way. I was talking shit on them earlier, and also that's like one of those things where I realized, like, afterwards, I'm like, I shouldn't be shitting on the help. But at the same time, it's just like this is shady dude that does this for a living. Yeah. Dude is so funny. We had breakfast the other day.
Yes.
And the reason we had breakfast the other day is because my roommate hires a clean. By the way, when I say roommate, I don't live in an apartment. I live in a house. And my roommate works outside of the house, and I either am working here, just working, or I'm not here. So in order to, like, once a month, we have a cleaning person come in, and she came in and she was like, you leave. And she just like kicked me out of the house. And it was so funny. And I was like, you want to go grab breakfast? And then you're like, why? Well, it's like, you're like, it's 10:30. Yeah. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I got kicked out. And I love it. I love her. She's so funny. The cleaning lady's so funny. And just her being like, you leave.
Yeah. You
just
go
like,
now.
Get the out of here.
Yeah,
and I was like, yes, ma'am. Okay. All right.
Okay. Sure.
I'll see you later.
And I was, trust me, I was jonesing to get the hell out of my apartment because I was holed up for the last, I don't know how many days.
Yeah, we are oftentimes holed up. One of the things I want to talk about too,
Yes.
because we're gonna wrap in a little bit.
We
We have some bonus content here. Wrestling, pro wrestling.
Yes.
You are the ring announcer, and also you do commentary. You were the ring announcer,
and then I was asked to become their lead play-by-play commentator after subbing in a few times.
Okay.
Yeah. So now I am their lead play-by-play commentator, and it's pretty much myself and fellow friend of ours and possible friend of the show, Rivers Langley.
Rivers Langley's great. He hasn't done this show, but
Okay.
he's great. He's a wonderful, wonderful man. I adore him very much.
Listen to episodes of his podcast, Goods of the Woods, with Jeff May and myself.
I did an episode. One of my favorite podcasts I ever did was the Goods for the Woods episode on the Billy Ripken 1989 Fleer face baseball card. And he didn't even know that I had the Billy Ripken face shirt on there. I love that episode. Yeah, it was perfect.
But yeah, I'm a giant wrestling fan. I've written a bunch of different comedy articles revolving around wrestling, particularly for bunny ears. And all that type of stuff. And it just got to a point in which Rivers got involved with Wrestling Pro Wrestling, which is a local promotion out here in Southern California that focuses on, it's a comedy pro wrestling promotion with lots of giant, big characters and foam costumes and stuff.
The energy that I got, because I've gone and I love it. And a lot of times our schedules don't mix.
Yes.
Because it's a monthly show. So if it doesn't click on the right time, I can't make it. Sometimes it's been up against Mint on Card.
Yep.
When it was on Fridays. It's on Saturdays now?
It's on Saturdays now.
Yeah. I think there were a couple times where I was literally out of town.
Yep.
I love it. It's one of my favorite things to go to.
Oh.
It's so much fun. The energy that I get is it's a little bit Kaiju Big Battle.
A little bit.
But leans a little bit more into the comedy aspect of the performance itself. And it also has, beyond that too, Kaiju Big Battle was all people in suits smashing into each other, which was very fun. But also like it got a little old. Yeah,
we try to get the variety aspect out of it and have at least one or two like legit matches between performers that are, you know, in wacky characters, but they can go.
Dude, there were some wrestlers that I've seen that were very impressive, and people that I've recognized in the street that I was like, oh, I know that guy. That guy's like, I forget who he is, but there was this giant, muscular, ripped black dude with like a
Watts.
Yeah, Watts. And that dude, I saw him in public and I was like, oh, I know who this is.
Watts is an incredible performer. I'm going to leave out so many names. Fidel Bravo, Darwin Finch.
Is Darwin Finch the guy with like the one different colored eye?
No, Darwin Finch is the punk rock Poindexter.
Okay.
I
want to say that many people play many roles in
Yes.
WPW as well. I've noticed that you look at someone, you're like, wait, weren't you just in the ring before?
We also get people like Shane Hayes, Dark Sheik, and Fred Rosser, who are big names in the indie wrestling scene that perform elsewhere for our little adult swim Muppet comedy show.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where like, cause I went earlier on when it came out, like when it was there and I was like, I love this. And then I was going when I could, but that was when it was Fridays and you guys moved right up against Mint on Card.
Yeah, we kept bumping into your show.
I was like, I really want to go to this.
I really wanted to go to Mint on Card, so
I know, but it was like, but I loved it, and I was glad that you guys are back. I went to the most recent one I went to. I saw like John Angara was there, excuse me, and like Julia was there, and a bunch of Julia Prescott, great comedian and writer. She wrote, you know, one of the best Simpsons Treehouse of Horrors of all time.
Yeah,
and,
no, she's amazing.
And she was there, and like it was like nobody knew we were all going. We like people just individually go, and we have so much fun. There are things that I remember that stick in my head. One is King Giraffadora.
Yep,
came out.
He's my favorite kaiju.
And I was laughing my ass off. It was Ghidorah, but a giraffe. Three-headed giraffe that bit some dude's arm off. It was so funny. The most recent show that I went to, everybody that entered the ring kept tearing their quads.
Yep.
Which is such a funny wrestling in joke. It's a really great wrestling joke if you know about the history of people blowing out their quads in wrestling. It's very common, but to have all of the wrestlers keep blowing out their quads.
So we booked for that particular night. We booked Shane Hayes versus Watts, and what honestly on paper would have been an amazing wrestling match. And then Shane Hayes goes up on the top for his entrance and just goes, yeah, and then he tore his quad and he's writhing on the ground. And so Watts is laughing, and as he's laughing, walking over towards Hayes, he slips and he tears his quad. And then the referee is checking on both of them, and the referee just kneels down wrong, and she tore her quad. It's like, okay, we got to send some people out in order to kind of carry them out, and just one after another, just over and over, just beat the bit to death, and it was glorious,
really great. There was also another bit that stuck with me that I have laughed about all the time is the Rilf, which was a referee in hot pants.
Yep,
and they just kept calling him the Rill, and I kept laughing at this idea of just there's referees, there were regular referees, and then just a sexy referee in hot pants called the Rilf.
Buff referee. Yeah.
And it was hilarious and brilliant, and I loved it. It also created that connection. And I may have told you this, but when I hosted Freddie Prinze Jr.'s panel
Yes.
at Motor City.
Mm-hmm.
You know him.
We know each other. Yes.
He's a big wrestling guy. He's been
Huge
in the wrestling
fan.
industry for a long time. He loves it. He announced that he's going to do a project in wrestling.
Hosts another podcast called Wrestling with Freddie, which is very good.
And I asked you to say, like, I don't want you to introduce me. I don't need that, but can you just let him know that he's in good hands, even though he doesn't know who I am? I'm going to take care of him or whatever, and give us that connection. And you were like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I told him, I was like, I think because he and I've been at the same shows.
I'm sure you
and
have.
I told him, I was like, I think we've been in the same pro wrestling. He starts losing his mind. We're supposed to go out and do a panel, and he can't stop telling 4 people, like his agent and then like 2 people that work for Motor City Comic Con. And he's like telling them about why pro wrestling is so great.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, we got a panel to do. And he's like, it's just so much fun. And I love talking about it.
We love Freddie, and we really appreciate him kind of shouting us out in so many different avenues. We're very fortunate.
You guys recently got a big bump.
Yeah.
Because the resurrected G4 partnered up with you for a live sort of streaming event.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we had a segment. We actually had a couple of segments in which we invited one of the hosts, Kasim, over to just interview our talent and he got involved in a match. Well, not a full match, but you can watch it. Just Google Pro Wrestling G4 Network and you'll be able to find it. And then we had a couple of our kaiju over on set for Attack of the Show to play a game of Pretzel, which may seem like Twister, but it's definitely legally distinctly not Twister.
No, it's 100% not
100% not Twister. And I may or may not have been dressed as Sam Squatch, our Bigfoot.
Sam Squatch.
And Samantha Squatch. And it was a lot of fun. Got to showcase King Desi, got to showcase everything. And we had a great time with them. They had a great time with us. And hopefully we'll do some more stuff together because we were open to it and they seem to be open to it. So tune in, watch, and maybe you'll be able to see us again, hopefully.
Yeah.
And if not, it's still fun. It's hilarious to me because the way it happened naturally is that one of the producers over there, Vanessa Guerrero, is a big WPW fan, and
friend of the former show, friend of the show,
friend of the former show, friend of ours,
actually,
in general.
She ran the Killer Mike where we met.
She did, yes, that's right. And she, but she just saw like, oh, this show that you guys do is exactly the same type of humor and style that we do at Attack of the Show, and just helped, played matchmaker and it just went from there. But yeah, WPW, aside from WPW and Tournament of Nerds are my 2 favorite shows to do out here in LA.
It's because you do
so
Tournament of Nerds.
Yeah.
As well. So, which is a great sort of like a roast battle as fictional characters.
Yes.
Kind of
yeah.
thing, that you guys do at. That was with.
It was at the UCB Theater. It is now over at Dynasty Typewriter.
That's not the worst place to end up.
It's a very nice. No slam against the UCB Franklin, which is an established theater, but Dynasty Typewriter that's fancy as hell.
It's like leaving a Porsche to go into a Bentley.
Yeah,
like you left a great thing for another equally great and comfortable.
There's a reason. That several of our contemporaries and famous comedians have recorded their albums there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Dynasty's great.
Dynasty's wonderful.
This is when, like, a lot of people ask me when they're coming out to LA what to do, and and they're like, I want to see Mint on card, and I want to do this, and blah blah blah. And I was like, all right, and they're like, let's see if it'll match up. But I always suggest, if you can make it to Pro Wrestling, you can. I have a friend of mine who was in town who's a big wrestling fan, and I was like, you have to go to this. I'll go with you. Like, just one of those things where I cannot suggest it enough. I love it. If you guys get a chance, go and see Pro Wrestling.
Yeah.
As well. And if you also get a chance, why don't you head on over to Twitter, twitter.com, and follow my friend Erik Barnes at Erik with a K, W Barnes, Barnes, just like the name you see it on there. Follow Erik. Read his articles. You have articles with you have a nice back catalog of articles through companies like Bunny Ears. Cracked, you have a lot of great articles. Shout out to Logan Trent, friend of the show.
Yes, definitely. Shout out to Logan. Love that man.
For knowing exactly how to tap you.
Exactly.
That's it. Just how to tap you. What
Shout
else?
out to Hannah Michaels. She and I co-wrote a lot of stuff together in my back catalog. Yeah.
As well. Shout out to Hannah. What else am I missing to push the promotion?
Just essentially the Twitter. That's the easiest way to find whatever I do. Follow Wrestling Pro Wrestling at Wrestling PW. You get to hear. By the way, when you go to the live show, you get to hear myself and Rivers call the matches over the loudspeaker in real time and riff, and that's a lot of fun. So yeah, follow at Wrestling PW. Follow Tournament of Nerds. If you listen to the Gamefully Unemployed folks, I'm not involved with Gamefully Unemployed officially by any stretch of the imagination, but these are my friends, much like
you do the movie nights.
I do the movie nights with them. I occasionally
do a hypecast or something like that.
It's been a minute since I've been on a hypecast.
It's been a minute since I've been on a hypecast too. You've done Unpopular Opinion.
I've done Unpops. Essentially, whatever Jeff has done, I probably have done it at some point because we're in the same circle. And subscribe to Jeff May's podcast so you can listen to the rest of this conversation.
Well, that's right, because we've got a very fun thing. You and I are going to talk about some weird and interesting places that we have ended up by accident. So that's what we're going to talk about in the bonus content, which if you want to hear, and you're listening to this for free, again, I cannot thank you enough. Thank you for listening. If you want to hear early access to uncensored episodes with bonus content, head on over to patreon.com/Jeff May, and you can get that bonus content we're going to talk about. On top of that, you can also hear Ugh Fine with Kim Crawl, my month in review, monthly show that I do, as well as more coming. I've got so much more projects.
You really do.
I have a lot of things I'm going to start working into video. I have these new podcasts coming out from the big producer tiers where I co-host with somebody. So I've got Nerd as well as Effing Nerds. These are the two shows that I have coming out, either on my Patreon, but also they're going to be available for free everywhere. On top of that, you can check out Tom and Jeff Watch Batman on the Gamefully Unemployed Network.
Love that podcast.
People seem to like it.
Go to the back catalog. Listen to me talk about Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles awkwardly.
Good times. We have fun. That was a while. That was like 2.5 years
Something
ago.
like that, yeah.
We've been at it for over 4 years.
I know, that's nuts.
It seems wild when people ask me how many episodes have you done? I was like, like 240 or something. That's crazy. But you can check Tom and Jeff Watch Batman out on the Gamefully Unemployed Network. You can also check out You Don't Even Like Sports, a sports podcast for people who don't like sports, and Unpopular Opinion, both on the Unpops Network. I think You Don't Even Like Sports is the one that is weirdly the most cultish of my shows, whereas it gets the highest reviews to the lowest number of people listening. Like, people hear sports and they don't want to listen.
Here's that's the irony of it, because here's the thing. I'm also not I'm legitimately not a sports person by any stretch of the imagination, but I love listening to that podcast because you and Adam picked the right people, because these sports figures are just insane humans.
We take months.
Yeah.
Like here's a funny. It's funny because, for example, Tom and I, it's just, all right, what are we watching this week?
Yeah.
And it's very much like, back when it was like we were doing movies and stuff, I'd look and I'd be like, I guess we're doing this, and be like, fine, we're doing that. But with You Don't Even Like Sports, Adam and I we text back for weeks trying to pare down who the proper, we just bailed, I think, on Lawrence Taylor. We thought we were going to do Lawrence Taylor. And then we were like, well, I don't feel like, because he's already sort of gone through this redemption process and he owns all of his problems. And we're like, I don't know if he's the right guy to do that. And that you would not think that we would put that much thought into it and be like, this is a famous person who's wild. We won't do Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Because Mike Tyson's already got enough stuff about him. So who needs another one?
if you are one of those people that are like, Jeff, why don't you do a history podcast? He does. And it's called You Don't Even Like Sports.
And shout out to Adam Todd Brown for being
Agreed.
one of the best researchers. I mean, he's a great podcast host, of course, but like he's got the most underappreciated ability to research.
Adam Todd Brown is one of the most underrated journalists and commentators, political commentators of our time. And I'm not saying that because he's a friend, and I'm not saying that because I've been on his shows. It's legitimate. He puts the work in, and his output cannot be denied.
Well, there's a reason. Somebody had recently recirculated his Ace of Base article, and somebody below it wrote, "This is the guy that predicted Trump's victory a year out."
Yeah.
And nobody believed him.
Yeah.
And he predicted exactly what was going to happen. And I do think Adam should get that shout out.
Agreed.
But anyway, this isn't about Adam. It's about you.
No.
Eric W. Barnes on Twitter, Wrestling PW. Follow Wrestling Pro Wrestling. If you're coming to LA, try to sync your trip up where you can see Wrestling Pro Wrestling because and chances are you're going to see me there. If you listen to this show,
and
you want
Jeff. If he's not busy, Freddie Prinze Jr. might be there.
If you want to meet me, go to Wrestling Pro Wrestling, and you can meet me while I'm watching Erik work. If you want to meet Erik, go to Mint on Card, and you can watch Erik watch me work, which I think is very great. And if you want to watch both of us work, listen to this show, which you just did.
There you go.
Thank you all, free listeners or listeners that for some reason don't want to hear the rest of the show. Thank you so much.
You had enough. Yeah.
Are you done with us? For the rest of you, well, we'll see you in a couple minutes for some bonus. A couple minutes, literally seconds, for some bonus content. Okay, bye. Say bye, Erik. Don't drink your water.
Farewell. I thought that was the send off. Bye. Bye.
Farewell.
Farewell.
Say bye, Erik. Don't drink your water.
Bye.
Farewell.
Hey everyone, our artwork is created by Justin T. Brown, who can be found at Artness by Justin Brown on Instagram, as well as artnessbyjustinbrown.com. That dope music you heard is by Troy Nababon, available at Troy Nababon on Instagram, as well as at troynababon.com. Nababon is spelled Nababon.